Hey everybody, video here for you today. This is by request. I thought this was a fascinating topic. I have not talked about this for a long time, but it has to do with an artifact found in a tomb down by Aswan. Here it is. It's an ostrich egg. This is 7,000 years old, coming from 5,000 BC. When I started looking into ostrich eggs, I found way more than I ever thought I would. Good subject for a video. And there has been a controversy about this, and I'm going to just state a few of my opinions on this. But here you see something depicted right here, and then 3 pyramid structures right here. People think this is a map of the Nile River, and I have really no problem with that. The Nile comes up, and then there's this huge outcrop here. Well, to me, that certainly depicts the way the Fayum region looked thousands of years ago. There was a massive lake here, a very big lake. This is the remainder of it today. But you notice that, this huge area here came down this way. Is that what the egg depicts here? The Nile coming up, and then the huge Fayum lake area right here, the Fayum region. I think that's entirely possible. It fits. This symbolism on this here looks like the ancient depiction of water, in a way, coming from Egypt. The 3 pyramid structures up here. Let's just look at this with common sense. This appears to be a depiction of the Nile. The symbolism for water fits. These 3 pyramids, with the left one being a little smaller, depicted right on the west side of this Nile River here, north of the Fayum region, the way it looked thousands of years ago. This was depicted in 5000 BC, and people have said the pyramids were built in 2500 BC. So this is just one of the many pieces of evidence that I find that I think the statement that the pyramids were built in 2500 BC is absurd. There is text coming from Khufu and Khafre's own priests that says there were monuments and shrines on the Giza Plateau when they got there. And I believe very strongly that all the monuments on the Giza Plateau were built at the same time. There is pretty solid evidence that the Sphinx is thousands of years older than we are led to believe. Is this a depiction of the 3 Giza pyramids coming from 5000 BC, 2500 years earlier than they were supposedly built? Well, I think it's a possibility, but I don't think they are going to do real extensive work on this. Did the Egyptian authorities want it to come out that the pyramids are much older and they didn't come from the dynastic Egyptian civilization? Well, there's no way in heck that'll happen. I think this is a highly interesting artifact. I haven't showed this in a video for a long time. I'd like to thank the sub who suggested it for a video. But this is all up for the individual's interpretation, I guess. Some people say the ostrich egg found in the tomb near Aswan depicts the Nubian pyramids down there, but that doesn't make any sense since the ostrich egg was carved thousands of years before these were built. But something like this will always be controversial, and it'll probably be just left up to the individual to interpret this. But does this depict the 3 Giza pyramids on the Nile, the Fayum region? Well, I would say that there is more evidence saying that that is likely than the evidence put forward that Khufu built the Great Pyramid. That's all I will say about this. You can leave your comments below. Here's a related story from a couple years ago. Ostrich egg globe may be the oldest to depict the New World. And I will leave this link below, but pretty intricate details on an ostrich egg, and it's not that big. Here's a look at normal ostrich egg, and then this globe made with an ostrich egg. This was made in the early 1500s, around the same time as the Piri Reis map was. I don't think that's a coincidence, but they think this is 2 different halves of an ostrich egg put together and kind of formed together, and that's why it's so perfectly round. But that's pretty interesting. 500-year-old map on an ostrich egg. To give you a little more idea of the intricacy here, here's the details on this ostrich egg. Pretty good craftsmanship there, to say the least. Here is another related story, and this just came out last week. I was going to include this in one of my ancient history videos, but I thought I'd save it for this video. 5,000-year-old egg hunt. Research reveals surprising complexity of ancient ostrich egg trade. So these kind of went back in time. Here is one very intricately decorated here. Pretty cool. It says, in the study published today in the Journal of Antiquity, the researchers described for the first time the surprisingly complex system behind ostrich egg production. This includes evidence about where the ostrich eggs were sourced, if the ostriches were captive or wild, and how the manufacturing methods can be related to techniques and materials used by artisans in specific areas. This egg right here appears to have some Egyptian design on it, and this comes from what they say is the Isis tomb. And I'm not really sure exactly where that comes from. I will leave all these links below, but here's a general map of where this ostrich egg trade was going on. Encompassed a pretty large area of the Mideast and Africa and Europe here. Here is another related story from ancient origins. It says prehistoric ostrich egg unravels clues to human life 33,000 years ago. A team of scientists have discovered 33,000-year-old ostrich egg beads in Lesotho Highlands, about 1,000 kilometers away from where ostriches roam. This establishes here there are two unknown prehistoric cultural exchange networks. So that's a pretty interesting article, but 33,000-year-old ostrich egg beads. It's pretty interesting. It says about 33,000 years ago, an ostrich in southern Africa's Kuru Desert had its lunch of sweet grasses and flowers, then laid its egg. Later that same night, the egg was lifted by a hunter-gatherer, and after it was eaten, pieces of the shell were drilled with holes and threaded onto an animal sinew cord and worn as a decorative string of beads. But this particular item of ancient jewelry traveled far to the east of where it was crafted and became treasured by distant hunter-gatherer group living high in the eastern mountains. And here's that bead, an ostrich egg bead, 33,000 years old, ancient trade in Africa. That's pretty fascinating. Now, I just thought this was an interesting topic. These ostrich eggs were a lot more fascinating than I originally thought. This is the one that I've shown in the video before, but not for a long time. I want to thank the sub who sent me the suggestion for a video. I think it's pretty interesting, to say the least. Does this depict the Nile and the Fayum region and the pyramids right where they should be, in the proper location, and everything seems to fit? Well, I think that's a very good possibility. Also, the oldest globe coming from the 1500s on an ostrich egg trades, beads, 33,000 years old. This is one of those videos that got even more interesting than this. Hope you thought that was cool, and you all have a very safe day.